In our Learning Center, there's a paper that I wrote about how to have a successful interview while playing cards. And I want to talk to you a little bit and give you some information of what that really means. And so before we get started, I want to tell you the rules of this card game that we're going to play today. The rules of the game are that in order to win this card game, which is what we're using as an analogy in your interview, the way you win is that you get rid of all of your cards. Okay? You can't take any cards home. And at each question during your interview, we want you to try to get rid of some of your cards. Okay, so you're thinking, what are these cards you're talking about? I don't really understand that. So the cards are a bunch of different items that you need to have in your arsenal that you bring into the interview with you. And I'm going to give you an example of what those cards are. You need to have an education card. This is a card that talks about your formal education and really where you are and how you've progressed and really what your educational level is. Briefly, I don't need to hear about your grammar school. I don't really need to hear much about your high school unless it's significant. But the education that's important and appropriate for the position you're applying for. I want to hear about your fire-related experience and education. So in that education, there's a section that talks about your schooling, and then I want your fire education. But again, I don't need to hear all of your classes and certs and everything you've had, but applicable ones, big ones, kind of your $100 bill items. And by that I mean, I don't need the small little items, but I want the ones that have an impact, that are going to be significant. One of your cards should be a work experience card. Okay? Again, I don't need you to go back 15 years and tell me when you worked at the burger joint flipping burgers, but I do want to hear significant work experience that has some tie into the fire service. And so when you think of your work experience, tie that work experience into why that would make you a good applicant and candidate for the position that you're applying for. So tie your work experience in, but you have to have a work experience card. You need to have a fire-related experience card. If you are a cadet, if you are a volunteer, if you are an EMT, if you have some experience in the fire service, an explorer, volunteer, any of that relates to the position, and most all of those will for the fire service, you need to have a card that you can play that's related to fire-related experiences. You need to have a life experience card. Lots of people ask me, well, why do you need a life experience card? Because we're looking in the fire service to hire folks that have not only education, not only work experience, not only fire-related experience, but we want you to have some kind of life experience. I mean, the fire service, when we bring you into this family and this brother and sisterhood of the fire service, you're going to be thrown into situations that are at times really significant. And the more life experience you have, better prepares you in how to deal with those situations that you're going to be in. So we want you to have a life experience card. We want you to have a card that tells us a bit about your hobbies. Because again, remember, in your interview, what separates you from most people is who you are, what makes you unique, what you enjoy, how do you fit in, how are you going to fit into this organization that you're testing for. So you need a hobbies card, and tell us a little bit about yourself. We want you to have a community involvement card. Okay, what does that mean? I want to know if you have and have been working in the community or areas in any kind of volunteer capacity. Are you coaching baseball? Are you coaching soccer? Are you working for the Red Cross? Do you volunteer at the senior center? What things are you doing that represent who you are as a person that would make you a better candidate? And then finally, I want you to present a personal value and ethics card. What is it that drives you? Who are you as a person? Give us some kind of card that you can present, and I'll give you more detail on the cards, but what can you present to the board that's going to tell us something about your personal values and your ethics, who you are as a person? Because that's who we're hiring. We're hiring you to be a 30-year employee in our organization, and the best fit and the best people and candidates that we pick are people that we value and understand and know their values, and they're a good fit for our organization. It's huge. So these are the cards that we want you to have. These are the cards that you need to have. So what do you do now? What happens when you say, well, listen, I don't have much life experience. That card I'm short on. Or I'm short on work experience. Or I'm short on community experience. Community activities, what do you do? So like cards, you want to earn the best hand that you can, because when you come into that interview, you want to be able to present that best hand, and that's what's going to separate you. So how do you do that? First, take a critical look at yourself and the cards that you have. And one exercise you can do is you literally can take index cards or pieces of paper and write these cards down in the topics and the titles that I've given you, and list the items that fall in each of those cards for you personally. And then take a critical look at them. Are they balanced? Is there a balance between fire-related experience, between work-related experience, between your education and your fire education? Is there a balance between that and your values and ethics through community involvement, hobbies? Are you balanced in those areas? And then what you need to do is, after you've done that, taking a critical look at those cards and what you have and where you may be, areas where you're strong and areas that you need more work in, is then you need to focus on earning the cards that you need to win. Okay? So if you're lacking, and I've told people that come through interviews, I've told them afterwards that one of the things they need to do is work on some life experience. That they're fresh out of college or they're fresh out of high school, they're young and they're coming into the fire service and they're just not quite ready yet. And so for some of those folks, I've told them, you need some of that. Other folks, I've told them, you need community involvement. You need to go out and volunteer. You need to give back. You need to be a part of this. And those are the things that separate you. Other people, you know, it's clear you need more fire experience, you need more education, more work experience. What is it for you that you are missing in your balance? Okay? The other thing that I want people to understand is that more cards doesn't always mean better. Okay? There's lots of people out there that have lots of cards, and their cards are full. The problem is they don't necessarily know how to play those cards. And that's what this website and our company is all about. We're here to try to teach you how to deliver those cards if you have great hands. If you don't, we're here to help you now through this series and others, teach you to go out and get the cards that you need to win. But more importantly, no matter what you do, you have to be able to play those cards in an interview to be successful. And by playing those cards, what that means is that you have to be able to deliver each of those cards or the message or the key points of those cards as you go through your interview. So don't be discouraged if you're starting out trying to get in the fire service and you don't have a lot of cards, because we all started there. You develop cards as you go along, you gather them along the way, but the first step in doing that is critically look at which ones you need. Okay? You then need to become an expert on your cards, because in order for you to present those, in order for those cards to be successful and allow you to win in this interview, you have to understand them, you have to know them inside and out, you have to know what's on those cards. So many folks come into an interview, they sit with us, they interview with us, and when they leave, we look at their resume or some of the folks that we know and we say, God, he didn't even tell us, or she didn't even tell us about her job. She didn't tell us about her fire experience. She forgot to tell us she was a cadet. It's so upsetting for us that we have people here that come into interview and they leave things behind and they don't tell us. So you have to become an expert on your cards so that you don't necessarily spit them out exactly the same way every time, but that the main key items on your cards, you're very clear, and those main items are the parts that come out during your interview. Memorize, practice is a key. You got to do this over and over and over. And then you have to be able to understand really what those cards mean, how they relate to the fire service, how the panel needs to hear from you and get that information, and then you got to practice. You really, really got to practice. This site and the videos that we have available to you gives you that opportunity to see other people. I want you to take what I've taught you today, a little bit about the cards and how that looks, and watch some of the videos that we already have on here. Watch videos that we're going to add to our site. Look at those videos and those folks and say, are they delivering their cards? When we ask a question, are they trying to unload some of those points that are on those cards, and are they doing it successfully? Are they delivering too much? Are they delivering in an area that doesn't really apply? So it's a game of delivering those cards and getting them out to the candidates from the candidates to the panel. It's a game, and you got to do it. You can win. You can win this game. You can land this job. It just takes practice.